The state of modern gaming is in shambles. Sure, you have games like Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Cyberpunk, and Astrobot, but then you also have games like modern Call of Duty, Suicide Squad, Anthem, Concord, Avengers. Now, what do all of these have in common? They're all live services. Live services, or games as a service, pay full price for 5% of the game so they can give you the rest under the guise of free updates when they decide to actually do something. This is awful, and they are all always online only, so they can pull the rug out from under you when the live service eventually fails, which is all of them. Just look at how many games Nintendo has abandoned. As good as New Horizons was, when it launched, it was bare bones and incomplete when you look at it compared to other Animal Crossing games, but no, we'll give you free updates, see? You mean like the ones that should have been in the game from the start? Then they dropped Happy Home Paradise and left. Thanks, Nintendo. Mario Golf, that came out. I played it for about 15 minutes. Mario Tennis, I also played that, the demo. Mario Strikers, that was a thing for a day. Lesson here is, if it's a Mario sports game, just run the other way. This doesn't work at all, because when you launch with hardly anything, people leave because it's boring and there's nothing to do, and then the game goes offline and lost forever because no one's playing. Then some out of touch boomer who should just retire blames the gamers, the people who pay for your trash. Gamers should get comfortable not owning their games. No, how about you get comfortable with us putting you out of a job? Don't even get me started. Ubisoft deserves their failure. They made good games once upon a time, but now it's just a husk of its former self that copies what other companies are doing, and when that doesn't work, they can it. Ubisoft Original, get off your high horse. That's not something to brag about. It means really big open worlds with hardly anything in it, just so you could waste time going from one end of the map to the other because they put the mission marker there. It's not like having Mick Gordon, Hideo Kojima, or even Steven Spielberg on your cover. It's the equivalent to the New York Times bestseller, as in it's meaningless because anyone and everyone gets it. They delisted the crew and removed it from everyone's libraries who bought it. What's even the point then of spending time and money developing something, releasing it, then taking it away years down the line after people bought it? Well, I don't know, don't ask me. I'm not a senile old man. That's exactly why they said that, take away your physical media game so you could only buy digitally, so they could remove the game from your library so you're forced to buy the new entry of the series. Well, then let's look at their games. Far Cry, it's a shadow of its former self. They released Far Cry 3 and never recovered from it. How many times have we seen the same, hey, burn this field with the flamethrower mission, or in Assassin's Creed with Ezio's family, and every time in both scenarios, it just gets worse every time. And in the case of Ezio's family, it doesn't even make sense. The last game he was in was Revelations in 2011, but somehow ever since Rogue, they keep bringing it back for some reason, like, oh, remember this? Yeah, we get it, we know what you're referencing. We all remember when you did that thing everyone liked, and you haven't been able to do it again since because you just peaked in high school. So they released Skull and Bones, and that failed because they released it 10 years too late. Not just because the interest was or wasn't there, but because they spent too much money on it. So they coined a new term, quadruple A. Let me summarize it for you. Spending way too much money and time, so when the game doesn't meet your expectations, it fails. I still can't get over this quote. The sheer arrogance of thinking you can say this and get away with it. It doesn't help that they just produce trash nowadays, and players don't trust them, especially after the whole crew situation. And I almost forgot about Avatar. They locked people out of their save files so they could force them to try to buy the DLC. No wonder Ubisoft's going bankrupt. And on the topic of these quadruple A titles, Concord, PlayStation's own failure. $100 million and 7 to 8 years too late. I saw this coming from a mile away when they announced this during the PlayStation State of Play. A hero shooter in 2024? Who's gonna buy this? No one. Just 2 weeks after launch, and they already killed it. Live service, they say, where franchises go to die. I thought the hero shooter genre was dead, and this just basically reaffirms it. Then Mario Rivals came out and proved me wrong. This is just another example though of boomer execs being out of touch, like how they are with Bloodborne. They just refuse to remaster, port it, or remake it. They don't even want to give it a 60 frames per second patch for PS5 users. So what do they do instead? Horizon. 2017. Zero Dawn comes out. It was good, graphics were good. It's just that after the proving, it got a little boring. Good thing Breath of the Wild came out a few days later. And then 2022, Forbidden West came out, looked really good. That was it was fine. Good thing Elden Ring came out a few days later. Then they get ported to PC. I mean, it's fine, I guess. Bruh. Lego Horizon? Why? Lego games are always good fun, but who asked for this? Who looked at the original and thought, yeah, this would make a fun Lego game? I'm sure the kids the original was marketed to had a blast playing this. I mean, okay, so what did they... Zero Dawn Remastered? What? The original didn't need a remaster, it still looked good and was already 60 FPS on PS5. This didn't need to exist, let alone on PC where mods and reshades exist. Oh my gosh, I've never seen a company push something so hard before. Like I said, Horizon is just fine, but there's better stuff that under the Sony belt. You know, there's Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Infamous, and Bloodborne. But no, let's just ignore everyone. Honestly, I don't even think Sony knows what the internet is. If they did, they would know how many people actually want a Bloodborne remake, port, or remaster, considering the fans are doing it themselves since Sony just refuses to touch it for some reason. Let's talk about the PS5 Pro while we're at it. It was supposed to perform better and make choosing performance options easier. Well, here's AI upscalers and Performance Pro and Fidelity Pro. Oh my gosh, this is the exact same thing. Wasn't the PS5 supposed to make this easier and only leave you with one option? Do I want best visuals like enhanced ray tracing and effects but at 30 FPS? Or do I want better performance with reduced visuals and effects at 60 frames per second? Sound familiar? It should, because it's the exact same scenario. Some games did it right, like Liza P. It moved its performance mode from to native 4K 60 from 1440p 60, so it basically made the quality mode obsolete. But then you have games like The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, which made the other two performance options obsolete by adding a Pro mode, which looks really good, and this is how it should be. And it even adds an option to unlock the frame rate. You need a VRR TV. Oh my gosh, so close. Almost all modern computer monitors now do have VRR support. It's just that the PS5 only allows it with HDMI 2.1, while a majority of monitors only support HDMI 2.0. What's the point of saying the PS5 Pro will make choosing graphical options easy when your developers just do this? It would have been better if fidelity was 4K 60 while performance was, I don't know, 1440p 120 or 1080p 120. I mean, why couldn't it just be like Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, which allows you to unlock the frame rate to 120 FPS regardless if you have a VRR monitor or not? Once again, Sony, one step forward, 5 steps back, and there isn't even a disk drive. And what about Nvidia? Speaking of AI upscaling, DLSS 4 and multi-frame generation. Honestly, what is Nvidia even doing? I think that Nvidia thinks native resolution, rendering, and native frames are dead. Okay, so upscaling like DLSS and FSR and frame generation are fine, especially if you're running something on the lower end, but it should not be a selling point for your flagship hardware. DLSS 3, one of the best upscalers out there, it's locked to the 40 series, while frame generation only locked to the 4080 and 4090. You know, only two of the most powerful graphic cards right now that don't even need it, while everyone else, you know, frame generation in DLSS has kind of just become a crutch at this point. It's because everyone just uses it as an excuse to release unoptimized games, especially when it comes to Unreal Engine 5. Oh, DLSS and frame gen will fix it. Well, how about you get up and actually do something with your life and fix it yourself? Now, going back to online-only games, which brings us back to Ubisoft. Oh my gosh, this company can't do anything right. All the games they release now are online only, even single-player ones like Ghost Recon Breakpoint and Assassin's Creed Mirage. Apparently they do this so you can't pirate their games. They get pirated anyways. This is really dumb and most of the time useless, and in most of the games like in The Crew 2, your saves don't even save locally on your system. Like in Gran Turismo 7, that's online only. Sure, you can play offline, but what are you gonna do? Drive through tracks and road cars forever since everything else is locked behind an internet connection even though it's saved locally on your system? You can't even play the single player content, buy cars, customize liveries, and as we saw with Gran Turismo Sport, once the servers go down, everything is gone because nothing saves locally. Not race replays, race photos, liveries, and you can't even save anything if you're not connected to online because it's all server side. And you can't even buy GT Sport digitally anymore. Imagine if GT Sport and Forza Horizon 4 were digital only. There would be no way to play these games anymore, which is why there should never be a future where physical media no longer exists, no matter how much blockhead CEOs tell you. It seems like everything is online only and a live service. What even is Call of Duty now? What did they do to Modern Warfare 2? Because yes, this is running off the Modern Warfare 2 app. As soon as they made that change in 2023, I knew what they were gonna do. I should have made a video on it. This isn't even that good. It's only slightly better than what they did to 2019 Modern Warfare. What is their obsession with putting everything under one game? It just clutters the menu, and if you don't have the recent Call of Duty game, it hides the Call of Duty game you actually own, and when you finally get to the game you want to play, like example Modern Warfare 2, you have to go through another loading screen so it could actually launch the game. So honestly, what's the point? Just make them all their own separate apps. And they all just play the exact same now. Modern Warfare 2, 3, and Black Ops 6 all feel really similar to me. The only difference being between Modern Warfare 2/3 and Black Ops 6 is the art design and the omnidirectional movement. Warzone really did ruin Call of Duty, didn't it? Okay, since I'm going off, let's talk about Nintendo. Good games, awful company. They took down almost all their music from YouTube so they could create their own music app, which doesn't even have everything on it. What is this? This is bare bones. They do the bare minimum and are so anti-consumer, and somehow they manage to get away with it time and time again because they know they can. Oh, you remember Donkey Kong Country Returns? Pay us $60 for the exact same game we sold you 3 different times already. They're the Ferrari of video games. They don't let you do anything with the stuff you own. And then they look like this fun, loving, family-friendly company, but deep down inside, they hate you, your grandma, your dog, and Steve for leaking everything about the Switch 2. It's a generation behind. Yeah, what else is new? That's like asking your grandma to run a mile. And then they ruin a bunch of ROM sites like Vim's Lair, which was a pretty cool site because it had archives of basically everything, ranging from covers, art books, and instructions manuals. Then they took down Yuzu and Ryujinx because they know they can, because what are you gonna do? Sue them? No, just keep delaying court proceedings until you eventually run out of money, because that's just a tried and classic way of getting out of lawsuits. You know, I really like Nintendo, but they have single-handedly destroyed all goodwill I had with them. Now, what about Xbox? Well, what about them? That's like going up to your frail old neighbor and pushing them down the stairs. Yeah, they have Xbox Game Pass, which is a pretty good service, but they haven't made a profit with that since ever. Speaking of which, that's the only way I'm playing id Software games now. Team of the Dark Ages will no doubt be fun, but I will never buy id Software games. Not because they're setting a bad precedent by forcing ray tracing to be on. You know, it's fine on like PS5 and Xbox, but on PC, that just basically prevents most people from playing your game because most people are still running 980 Ti's, 1080 Ti's, and RX 580s. But that's not the reason I'm not buying id Software games. No, the reason I'm not buying id Software games is because of Marty Stratton. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about this guy. Halo Infinite, remember that? It's a live service. I remember when they announced that it was going to have support for 10 years, and I saw the writing on the wall. Because that's exactly what happened with Destiny 1. They said they were going to support that for 10 years, and that kind of failed until Destiny 2 came out. Same thing with Horizon 5. I was pretty excited for that, and I played it when it came out, and yeah, I just kind of went back to Horizon 4 after a while. Something about Horizon 5 just felt off. I still played it quite a bit, I just got bored of it. And I was right, because turns out Turn 10 is pretty shady. They purposely left out stuff from previous games just so they can add it back in later and call it an update. And then in Forza Motorsport, I played it on launch day, wasn't a big fan of it at all. On wheel it sucked, and on controller it was just okay. It looks washed out, and every time I try to turn a corner and press the gas just a bit, it immediately goes off because the wheels just seem like they lock up and can only go one direction while you're pressing the gas because the car never wants to turn. Yeah, built from the ground up? Yeah, I don't think so. So after launch day, I never played it again. So now that my rant is over and I'm seeing everything much more clear now, AAA gaming is on the decline, gaming is dead, indie devs take over, that's it, that's the video.